Thank you for taking the time. Really do appreciate it. I know there's a lot going on, and excited to have this conversation with you and chat a little bit more about Holonym. To get things going, maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and maybe once again your story, because I believe we've done an episode before already. This will be the first one in person that we've done. So give us a little bit of background and context into how you got into Web3 and what kind of excited you to be in this industry.
Yeah, right on. No, it's good to have a person-to-person contact here. This is pretty cool. Yeah, so my name is Shady. I am the CEO and co-founder of Holonym, and we're building an open framework for keys, wallets, and identity. Our biggest motivating factor is taking a look at where crypto is going today. It's an incredibly powerful technology. It can take us places, right? We can reinvent how we coordinate online, and not only that, but as a civilization. It's like one of those unlocks. It's like operating system of society. So that's kind of awesome, but also a little scary, right? And looking back at how new societies were formed, if we really start looking at Web3 and blockchains and distributed systems through this coordination society forming lens, we should be a little bit careful about maybe the human layer that's important in bringing these things together. So looking back, right, into the past when new societies, new technology came together, for example, like with the Constitution of the United States, there was a really important moment where ideals had to come together to really identify what this moving target of this American experiment really was. And that's what we're doing today with the crypto experiment. What is this moving target? So we really believe the importance of taking this moment while the opportunity is available for now to embed digital rights into technology by design. So that means, for example, taking no prisoners, no no sacrifice, or no you know what I'm trying to say, really being both thoughtful, but also no quarter given when it comes to making sure things like privacy, self-custody, personhood, and other what we think are self-evident rights embedded into technology. Now, how did I get here? I think to answer your question, it's a little bit of a winding path. I actually have a computational neuroscience background. So I was doing my PhD in neuro, trying to solve some data sharing problems, stumbled on IPFS, and the rest is history.
I didn't get my PhD in neuro, but I definitely studied it and got my undergrad degree, bachelor's in neuro, and was going to go to medical school and was taking my MCATs and everything. And then crypto. Yeah, it just it just came across my plate, and I was lucky enough to invest it a little bit into Bitcoin and especially Ethereum when it was very, very unknown and there was no ecosystem, there was no this. And that took off and gave me some flexibility to try different things, or else I probably would have gone down the doctor route. So I love to tell people that crypto is the thing that got me off that path.
Yeah, no, I feel you totally. I feel like neuro is very interesting too, because it is an emerging field as well. It has the same sort of like, if it works, it's going to really change everything about our society. So I totally can see why you're here in crypto, actually. One thing to really double click on is why blockchains are so powerful and transformative. Now, blockchains are a way for really are a useful tool for distributing power, right? They implement consensus mechanisms that allow maybe multiple parties, a large amount of parties, like in the case of the Bitcoin network, which has thousands of nodes operating all over the world, to come to consensus over what the next action should be. Now, these nodes might have completely different philosophies. They might have different values. They might have different governments, speak different languages, have different religions. And the thing that really brings them together is this incentive mechanism that if they mine the next block, the next transaction can happen, and you're able to have this financial settlement, coordination layer, and store of value. Now, what's interesting about that is, people tend to think that a node, somebody who's running a node is, they're doing a service, or that Bitcoin's doing a service for them. Bitcoin is paying them, it's providing that, the network is paying them, it's providing them with resources, etc. But it's actually the other way around, right? You're actually working for Bitcoin, this emergent societal, across jurisdiction, cross societal, like emergent phenomenon, almost its own kind of like entity in a way. And it does a really good job of bringing this incredibly diverse set of people together around the shared incentive. Now, if that doesn't scare you a little bit, it should, right? Because who's to say that those incentives are always going to be aligned in the way that, we would expect? So, for example, if Bitcoin really does take off quicker than we can, say, keep up with energy infrastructure, or that we can keep up with, say, like the impacts on the financial sector, then maybe it'll have all these ripple effects that we can't stop, we can't control. So blockchains are great because they create new ways of achieving stability in distributed systems. They are more resilient. They allow people that are very different to come together around a shared objective. But again, they can be very dangerous. So how do we chart this path? How do we actually build something that gives us all the benefits of the technology while also minimizing maybe some of the authoritarian or maybe some of the runaway existential risks that might emerge? A really good framework for this is, I think, DAC, differential or defensive accelerationism, which started off as a direct response to effective accelerationism, which is, the Mark Andreessens of the world, the Peter Thiels of the world, that have this very intense techno fetishism, where technology is seen as the tech brother, technology brother, sort of monk tech priest kind of, Warhammer 40K reference there, one with the machine, because it's the tech that's going to deliver us from evil. It's tech is the end that justifies the means. And no matter what happens, no matter what collateral damage occurs or whatever risks occur, the faster we get to the penultimate goal of technology, whatever that is, we'll figure it out as we get there. We'll just keep, solving problems, going to the moon and doing all the hard things. That's all of our problems will be solved. And it doesn't matter if a couple things break along the way. Now, that's cool. That's really great, actually, if you're a teenager and you love like rockets and stuff. Like, that's a great way to get yourself into technology, but it's actually not perhaps the best thing for society at large, right? Where we can't just expect that technology is always going to be in our domain or our jurisdiction or under our control and doing what we like it to do. So defensive accelerationism is like, okay, well, yes, we agree with the accelerationists that we need to move faster because there's a lot of problems in the world that by creating technology, we create more problems, but there's even more problems we need to solve. And we can't go slower. We can't go backwards. We can't go back to the old world because we wouldn't be able to provide the same quality of life for everybody. So what do we do? Like, what's the option? And the answer is we actually route technology towards outcomes or challenges that reduce existential risk for society overall, right? So we give ourselves a North Star, which is, hey, let's do things that make it more likely that humanity is still around for the next 100, 500,000 years. Now, for DAC is interesting because it, has some clear examples in the worlds of bits. For examples, it's there's defensive technology for, say, information, for cryptography to make sure that your data is secure, that you're private, that you're not being fed misinformation or manipulated in a certain way. And then in the world of atoms, which is like, okay, well, infrastructure resilience, being able to have energy, that's that can't be just suddenly shut down. Being able to, say, communicate with each other, et cetera, et cetera. And then like at the molecular level and at the macro level, like biodefense, these sorts of things. So, but the thing is that DAC kind of just throws open this wide world where you can do things, but it doesn't really talk about how do you actually navigate that tech tree? How do you actually go about unlocking this technology and appraising it? And how do you layer in the human coordination infrastructure that's required for that? So that's where Holonym comes in. This is something that we've been working on for a couple of years. It's called human.tech. It's an open framework that allows people to come together and align over technology that's humanistic, that places humans at the center. The way that it works is we have basically like a proto-governance framework called the Covenant of Humanistic Technology. It's a very short document that was put together by a community of technologists, academics, artists, really painting forward 10 principles that are important for keeping in mind when designing new tech. So for example, if you're building like a remittance or payments application for people to send money back home, you need to be thinking a little bit carefully about, okay, well, is this technology private? Can people spy on this in a way to take advantage of these individuals or to achieve other ulterior motives? Is this self-custodial? Do these people always have control of their assets? Is it, say, for example, something that is very difficult to game by non-human intelligences? So can a non-human intelligence utilize this payments infrastructure to, say, subvert human organization? And so things like proof of personhood, zero-knowledge proofs, distributed key derivation, these are all really important for creating this strong fabric that puts that human at the center, makes it very difficult to, say, subvert the technology in a way and create new existential risks for the user.
I'm curious if you guys have any maybe examples of some use cases or anything that you can kind of highlight as a good example of Holonym kind of in action and being used in this sort of sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we serve kind of three main areas today. There's three main things that we do in this sphere. The first is key derivation. So we have a network called the Human Network that creates something called a human key. A human key is like a private key, except instead of being derived from randomness, like a seed phrase, it's derived from a human attribute. So what you have, what you are, what you know, it could be. Yeah, it could be. So that's the thing. Like the network can do this decentralized Face ID. So instead of relying on the enclave on your phone and Apple's public key infrastructure and their ring encryption scheme to, say, authenticate and add new credentials based off your biometrics, whether it's your thumbprint or your hand, we're using Web3 infrastructure on the back end to do a Web3 native way for this authentication method for users. So this is great because now we have self-custody without the risk of loss of the key, and with the added layer of credible neutrality as well. So the network utilizes Ethereum proof of stake to secure the credentials, the keys that are created. So operators have a lot at stake when they're processing this. So if you can trust Ethereum to mine your blocks, you can trust the human network to create the key for you. So human keys, we think, are going to be an absolute game changer. We're right now today about one human key is created every 52 seconds. And that's only using 10% of the total requests that we're getting in as we're getting ready for mainnet launch and scaling everything up to hit all of our production goals. We're really looking forward to a big partnership we're going to be announcing soon, but that we've already previewed in our work with Refinite, which is an international aid organization. So think WorldCoin, right? What did WorldCoin do? They went about and said, hey, we're going to give everybody UBI by giving WorldCoin tokens to people. And trust us, we're going to make these WorldCoin tokens valuable, right? And then also trust us for other things, right? Yeah, trust us for a couple different things, but trust us, this WorldCoin token is going to be valuable. So we take this completely different approach, right? One, we have a more decentralized architecture. Two, instead of giving users our token, we link them up with existing direct aid channels. We distribute that direct aid through WhatsApp payment links and allow users to click the link, claim the funds, prove personhood to prove that they've only claimed those funds once and only once. And then you have everything you need for kind of this permissionless proof of impact, right? That a unique living, breathing a human being claim this aid that was distributed by USAID, for example, which doesn't exist anymore, but like ICRC, for example. So this work is actually being piloted right now in Uganda, and it's something that we're really incredibly excited about. There's about 150 million users in this network that we're targeting. And we're looking to really make sure we do this right. We have the values in place, the ethical framework in place, and that the technology is able to scale and meet these requirements. And we'll be timing this as well with our network launch and TGE in September.
This might be a silly question, but I'm curious, like, how much more seamless is your credentials if you're building your credentials in a decentralized fashion, you're building it on blockchain. How much more seamless is it for you to use that to connect to maybe all your different accounts or different data you have in other places? Because the way I think about it is like because I have this problem every single day where I go to log in on my Chrome browser, then I got to log in on my phone, I got to log in somewhere else, and it's my fingerprint has to be taken here, and then I have to take my fingerprint over here, and it's like, it's kind of annoying to remember where all my credentials are all the time, and then knowing that the same credentials I've already set up on my phone don't work with my computer because I have Samsung and this is Apple, or maybe I use some other kind of software or device. And it's a little frustrating as a user because it's like I have this stuff all over the place, as well as passwords, as well as usernames. And it's like I can't just store it in one thing and use my credentials in such a seamless way. If that makes sense, like would having a decentralized way to do that, like what you guys are doing with Holonym, like make it more seamless so you could connect more things and have access, but still those protections?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So that trade-off between UX and security really is the question, because for things to be more seamless, typically you'll have to have some centralization, right? You need to put all of your, you'll have one server that keeps all your credentials, and then every app just asks that server for the credential. And, that's how WorldCoin works, actually. It's got this decentralization component streak within it, where they have this multi-party compute network across 4 sites, but it's all within this monolithic framework, right? And the idea here is that if everyone adopts the eye scanning, the World ID, then everybody's able to log in and take their World ID credentials everywhere. But it's difficult. I think WorldCoin set out to try to do this in a way where it's secure, but also less trust assumptions. And they weren't able really to go that far. Like they really weren't able to. They've done a ton of innovation, but they weren't really able to do something drastically different. Now, there is a way to do this in a decentralized way. One of them is to have the key derivation occur in a network that is persistent. So whenever you want to create a key, say the root controller key for all your accounts, you can actually, instead of relying on doing it on the client side device or relying on, say, like Privy's servers to generate the key for you that they control, you can go to a network, and that network could be secured by Ethereum proof of stake. And then you ask that network, hey, can I have my key? You present some biometric authentication, either Face ID or whatever, really. You can set it up however you want. And then you're able to derive that key no matter what device you're on, and all of your data comes along with it. That's one side of the equation. The other is when you want to start adding on privacy through zero-knowledge proofs, you have something called a nullifier. A nullifier is this kind of cryptographic primitive that obscures your data from the person who created the credential for you. So, all credentials have some third-party trust associated, whether it's like, the DMV or the State Department, or say like a site that you applied to a job for or something. They all have some third-party trust assumption, and the nullifier prevents that third party from attaching your personal identifying information with your credential. And it also prevents you from double spending your credential as well. So the nullifier, it's called the nullifier because it has this ability of tracking how many times it's been used. Now, most SeekID projects all use their individual nullifier. which means that if I go and create a ZK proof, the same ZK proof with multiple different providers, then I can have multiple credentials, and there can be fragmentation. And you can be like, okay, well, is it this ZK proof that got me into this account, or I have to go through my wallet and pull out my Polygon ID or my WorldCoin ID or my XZK ID, my ZK Pass or whatever it is, and that could break UX. So the thing is, you can actually use these MPC network architecture to also create the nullifier in a way that unifies across these different credentials, and where also trust is minimized, right? You don't need to rely on a trusted execution environment or a single server to compute the nullifier for you. You can have it done in a threshold network, and then that also solves the UX problem. So that's how we're thinking about it with Human Network.
Well, it sounds like you guys are working on quite a lot. What are you guys doing here at Permissionless? What's the goal that you're trying to get out of being here? Are you guys looking for more networking opportunities, connections, partners? What's kind of the goal?
Yeah, for us, we have a lot of friends here in the city, so here to also have this delightful conversation. But one of our major goals right now, what we're really interested in, are onboarding new users and businesses to the Human Network. So, we're really interested to chat with wallets that are looking for ways to create a universal key that can be cross-device, to add that as another way to create a key aside from seed phrases. We're also really interested in chatting with dApps that need better ways to onboard. And we also provide services for projects that are doing TGE. So if you need bot detection, proof of personhood to prevent Sybils from draining your treasury. So just always on the lookout for ways that we can be of service, but also really excited to get the word out of what's happening, and starting with interpersonal conversations and relationships first.
And how can people onboard themselves? Should they just go to the website in particular, or is there a specific way that they can set up and become a user and start applying it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suggest going to human.tech, and then you'll see everything there. If you'd like to get on the alpha train a little bit early and start earning, let's say, some points for stuff, you can go to humansignon.com and create an account there, and you'll find some nice surprises.
Excellent. Any side events, networking you plan on doing in the evenings while at Permissionless? Anything in particular over the next few days?
Yeah, there's just so much going on. We'll be at the Coin Fund Brews which just got started actually a little later today, and we'll be hanging out with the Uniswap crew at the Uniswap house a little bit later in the week.
Nice, sounds exciting. Where can people also go to connect with you? You have LinkedIn, X. Where's the best place to get in touch?
Yeah, I have a very nerdy neuroscience reference handle. You can follow me at Hebbian Loop on Twitter. So that's HEBBIAN LOOP. So just follow me over there, and you can get all my hot takes all the time. So
love it, man. Shady, appreciate you taking the time and having the conversation today. Love what you guys are doing with Holonym. I think that makes a lot of sense. Having credentials decentralized and all these different aspects, I think, will become very important in the near future, and really could probably help with a lot of different issues where people get scammed or people have human error, or things that really plague this ecosystem. I think Holonym could be a big contributor too. So appreciate what you're doing, and keep me up to date on everything as it continues to spiral out and come to fruition. And would love to do episode 3 with you at some point, hopefully in person again too.
Yeah, perhaps maybe post token launch we could do a little recap, and would love to do it in person. Maybe Argentina and on your side of the world, perhaps.
Absolutely. 100%. I'll come to Argentina. Take care, man. Enjoy the event, and let's definitely try to meet up again sometime while we're here.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Likewise.